The good stuff, Stugotz, is beginning to trickle in. Hey, LeBatard, Jokic looks like a loaf of bread. You heat bleepers better not be allergic to gluten. Ass-whooping sandwiches are going to be served here soon. Going to sweep that ass right on out of here like we did those Lakers. Then 4 broom emojis. Loaf of bread is going to win finals MVP too, fat boy.
Can they make an ass-whooping sandwich gluten-free for me, though?
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show, Juju. Would you enjoy eating a gluten-free ass-whooping sandwich?
The Nuggets are a really good team. They're an overwhelming team. They should be the favorites. They are the favorites. They have everything. But the Heat have Jimmy Butler.
Well, this is the argument Stugotz has been making here for 3 days. Anytime I say, best net rating since the Warriors in 2018, Stugotz's answer is, yeah, but Jimmy.
I don't think they're overwhelming.
Net rating,
They're good,
net rating wise, offensively they are.
But
they're offensively as good as the Warriors felt just by empirical advanced numbers as the Warriors felt 4 years ago.
But you saw their sweep. Brindamore would call it not a sweep. Those games were tight.
Oh,
Those weren't
on.
overwhelming victories in the 4-game sweep.
What
are we doing there?
No, not according to Rob Brindamore.
A sweep is a sweep.
But Brindamore looks
I
at
know,
that and he does a Leo DiCaprio like, yes, another sweep. That's not actually a sweep.
I think in hockey, when all the games are quadruple overtime and decided by 1 goal, you could say that a sweep is not a sweep.
No, you can't.
And I'll laugh at you slightly less. But you can't do that in basketball. Brad Williams is still here. It makes me happy.
Good. And it makes me happy that you brought up ass-whooping sandwiches. I want that. Someone open that shop, please. Ass-whooping sandwiches? Who's not buying an ass-whooping sandwich?
I love that Brad is here and Chris Cody is not. I mean,
Mike Ryan, do you know
From
the
your mouth to God's
whereabouts?
ears.
Do you know the whereabouts of Chris Cody? Are you still confused as to how long and why this Adnan Virk interview is lasting for several months?
I think he's still in the penalty box for his Jess gag.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The lights were off, and he tried to pretend he was Jess.
Yep.
By voice only.
Not even by voice. It was just so bad.
What?
That's
yeah,
right.
so Dan kicked him out to the penalty box, and then he immediately was back in the room. And he said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "It's not Chris, it's Jess." And then
Why do you guys insist on replaying this show for me?
Oh, I want to listen.
again?
Wait, can you guys tell me again what happened?
No, you don't want to listen.
I listened to yesterday's show, and I'm oddly proud of it. Granted, it was a huge embarrassment to lose
It was
all
a
that power.
cluster bleep.
But it wasn't that bad.
Well,
Listen back to
It
it.
wasn't like it was anyone here's fault, right?
And I feel like we aspired to.
Bill Simmons did it.
Not that bad.
Well, it may be my fault because when I went to the Marlins game last night, they also had a blackout at the Marlins game. So literally I was part of 2 blackouts within a 12-hour period. Now,
Sounds like college.
maybe this is like – cause I've always said that it's weird being a little person because all of our stereotypes are fake. It's all like, oh, we have pots of gold and we're leprechauns and stuff, and it's nothing real. Maybe the real stereotype is that we cause blackouts.
Nobody knows that. We're just learning this over the last couple of days. We had such a good show planned, Stugotz. Bill Simmons' face, which has become an amazing sports meme over the last couple of days because people are enjoying Boston misery, was going to be in a tiny little box in all of the video we sent out yesterday, no matter what we were talking about. So I was hoping to have one of those silly viral moments where there is no explanation and then a news gathering outfit that takes itself seriously has to put it up on its screen with Bill Simmons in a corner looking really sad because his Celtics lost.
we had a viral moment just for all the wrong reasons. I mean,
Dan Patrick had the viral moment, and he enjoys laughing at how much, in general, more professional he is than I am at all things. That would never happen to Dan Patrick. The power would not go out on Dan Patrick. I'm sure he's got 7 backup generators.
Well, I mean, you could do the bit again today. You could put the Bill Simmons photo up and, I don't know, talk.
No, video's not working.
Actually,
not working?
no, that's still not working because of the blackout.
Yeah. It's still not
sorry,
working.
sorry, guys, still me.
Yeah,
still me. I'm still in the building.
Our Bill Simmons
When did you
machine
leave?
is down.
I leave today, so you should have video and everything else be fine tomorrow.
I have a hunch, Dan, about this power outage. Suspicious power outage, I should say. Everyone was blaming Bill Simmons and Boston for our power going out yesterday, but last week, we got very close to finding out who the culprit of the fine bucket theft was.
Really?
And then suspiciously this week, the power went out. Are the two things connected?
Did we get suspiciously close to that? Because I don't feel like we're very close to understanding who stole like $500 in fine bucket money around here. Although, if someone did do that, and we've all said, hey, return it, there will not be any consequences, other than the profound shame of all of us knowing that you're a thief. And no one's returned it.
Well, they haven't returned it, and I think they are trying to prevent us from further digging in. I think we're close. That's all I have to say.
You are investigating as a Meadowlark team to try and find out who did it?
New true crime pod coming to you.
Not returning it.
One of the big stunners on the lie detector, I believe, the stunner, is that you didn't steal the fine bucket money.
This time.
The big stunner was that he decided to be honest and let his true feelings about Pablo fly. In that moment, he's like, I'm not even going to try to game this.
That was
re-
unfair.
I regret that. Yeah, it was a terrible question. Plus, Joe Harper's, he was off his game. He didn't seem like he was on his game. Like, he hadn't done it in a while. I don't know.
If I may,
I
get
apologize to
handsy with the
Pablo.
steering wheel because I missed the first hour, and I'm sure you guys talked about heat culture and all the
We also
wonderful
talked
things.
about the blackouts.
Yeah, no, I gathered that. I saw the cryon, but I just wanted to revisit my shame from yesterday. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around what the NBA has become. And I guess I attributed all the wacky things to the pandemic. Yeah, bubble, okay, shortest offseason ever. People in and out of lineups, no continuity. And then last year, the Heat came back and they were a 1 seed. And it's just been like a really odd 4-season sample. But this year was normal by most NBA standards. And yet an 8 seed in a non-lockout season made the NBA Finals. And that's never happened before. And you have basically 2 teams that are built around 1 star. And we got out of an era where you needed 3. And then 2 was the hot thing. And now you have just 2 teams that have 1 guy. And that's a trend. That's 4 years of just like random NBA parody.
Well, Mike, the Nuggets kind of have 2, don't they, with Murray?
No, Murray's come back online. That's fair. I think you can make the argument, despite his inconsistencies, that Bam, the plan is for Bam to be that number 2.
Well, if anyone gave stardom for defense, Bam would be a
Yeah.
star. But nobody gives it for defense unless you're Ben Wallace and Draymond Green.
Yeah, Bam, if you look at what he's held opponents in terms of field goal percentage, him and Jimmy especially, they're absolute superstars. But is this what the NBA is now? Because 4 years, like we've gone an entire Olympiad with thinking we know one thing because we've always been right. Our entire years of following the NBA, it's usually been 2 teams in the East that you have a good feeling will get to the finals, and you're rarely ever surprised. Same thing goes for the West. And even though they have a 2-time MVP, arguably one of the greatest big men of all time, if not the greatest, Denver is still kind of a surprise. You're surprised yet again by an NBA Finals. We're surprised seemingly year over year now. The Warriors got back to it when they missed the playoffs the previous year. What's going on in this sport?
If LeBron, you've had the numbers all distorted by threes. That's a start for that. But when you're talking about roster construction, LeBron James is now an old man, but because one guy couldn't get past 3, because one guy couldn't get past Garnett and Ray Allen and Pierce, he altered the paradigm, and then all of a sudden, for a generation, it's 3 guys. You need 3 guys the way you used to need 3 guys when it was Magic and Kareem and Worthy. We'll invent the 3rd guy for you. We'll make the 3rd guy for you even better than he was at the time when he's the 3rd guy on a champion. But you also had Bird and Parrish and McHale.
Like Horace Grant, we made a great player. He was the 3rd guy.
And usually, though, at the very start of that, the startle at the start of that, because he changed a decade of basketball, was, oh, Dirk just won that by himself. Dirk just won that against the 3 dudes. He beat Bosh, and he beat Wade, and he beat LeBron, and it ushered in now an era of Durant's going to change teams, and the Warriors got the 3 guys, but in the middle of that, as the Warriors get hurt, Kawhi wins one by himself.
Yeah, I guess you could say between eras, you had Jordan, you have the Jordan era, you have the LeBron era, and LeBron spoiled all the basketball fans because, you could always tell who was making the finals because LeBron was always making the finals. On one side of the bracket, you knew LeBron's going to be in there. And in recent years, He's been a part of the conversation half the time, the other half sometimes not even in the playoffs. It's a very weird dynamic. But in the mid-2000s, you had the dynasty of the San Antonio Spurs that never went back-to-back. You had Shaq, Kobe, the Lakers there, but it was still fun. You had the random 06 championship of the Miami Heat, and it was a little bit unpredictable. And I think we're getting back to that right now in the NBA. And I don't know if I like parody so much in that sport. I like being able to just not watch the regular season and say, I don't know, I know the teams that will be there in the end.
Now that your team is on top, you're like, I don't like this parody thing. I'd like it to stay this way for the rest of time. Welcome. I am a Lakers fan. Welcome to this side. No parody.
I think I could step aside like my Heat homerism to even be like confused. Like, I still don't know if the Heat are good. I don't think that they're a good basketball team. They're not a championship quality team, and yet in my heart of hearts, I think they're going to win this series against Denver.
What?
And I think they're going to win this
your
series.
heart of hearts?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I think they're going to win this series
of
against
heart.
Denver.
Heart.
So the
Wow.
heart. So you're saying
The heart.
that?
Yeah, I think they're gonna beat
You're
Denver.
saying
Heart in the
there's-
heart house.
You're saying
Couple
I think
of
they're gonna
hearts
beat
cutting
Denver.
it up.
I think they're going to beat Denver because why would I count them out now? They were bigger underdogs against Boston. They were much bigger underdogs against Milwaukee. At this point, Denver, this is going to sound cocky, but it's kind of like at this point, when it comes to odds, light work.
Oh,
Only
come
minus
on.
360? Are you kidding me?
You can't be that guy.
We're cooked
What?
now.
Minus
You
360
can't be
comparatively
that
is light
guy.
work.
Every time that you would go against the Heat, they would win. So now that you're
No.
going for the Heat,
No.
now they're going to lose. Yeah.
No,
what are you trying
no,
to do?
No. Knicks
So
are
that, you
You're
could
welcome,
be, so that
Denver.
it could be right.
No, Knicks are trash. I knew that we were going to run through
Well,
the
okay,
Knicks.
between
I
the Bucks
also
and
had
the
a-
Celtics.
I had a good, and I thought we were going to beat the Celtics. I just did that reverse jinx before the game to like. I thought we were going to run.
But
through
why
the
not?
You're an
We get it,
adult,
we get it.
okay? This is the third time with the reverse jinx.
You're welcome.
You're an adult human being.
Yeah, yeah,
You've got
with
a
adult
You're
superpowers.
raising a child.
With adult
You're
superpowers.
shouting reverse jinx.
Yeah, it
at
worked.
He is right,
everybody.
though.
There's
It worked.
no age
Every-
limit
it
to
did
the
work.
reverse jinx.
It
What's
did
the
work.
matter
separated
with
from
you?
it. You're separated from it. I willed that team to victory.
You are.
You're welcome.
Did Bill Simmons copyright that? Is that trademarked by? Are you stealing the Bill Simmons?
Real ones, no. Real hoopers, no.
Thank you, Mike.
Are you stealing the reverse jinx?
No, I invented it.
Yup.
We're having a very good show.
I think we have half of some equipment, maybe 40% of some equipment working, so we don't have the imaging we need here exactly. We've erased my father from our library and history. Regardless, here, just a couple days late, is Stugotz's weekend observations.
Weekend observations brought to you by Miller Lite. I miss your dad. 96 calories available for delivery. Dan, they won 5 straight national championships and 7 and 8 years from 2005 to 2012. They went away for a bit, but recently have shown signs of a resurgence, making it to the last 5 Final Fours. Dan, that all changed over the weekend, dominating Denver and Boston College by a combined score of 33-13 en route to their 8th national championship. And Dan, just like that, make no mistake about it, the Northwestern Women's Lacrosse Program is back. The Cats.
Led by Rachel Weiner.
Yeah, well, not really.
I mean, led by is very strong
Yeah.
and disrespectful to a really great team. She's a
Thank you.
freshman, earning stripes.
Exactly right. Anyone else wondering if Brooks Koepka is still awake? Anyone? There were things that were done in the Dallas-Vegas series that would have been illegal in most states. Did you watch that series?
Yeah, how mad
Holy
is
bleep.
how mad is Canada about this Stanley Cup final match?
I think in the last 30 years, the number of Canadian teams to make the Stanley Cup final is equal to the number of teams from Florida that have made the Stanley
But
Cup
Vegas
final.
and Florida, that hurts particularly if you're like Toronto.
You know what's wild is that Vegas is the far more prestigious franchise than Florida.
Yep.
5 years of existence.
Yeah, like Florida feels like the new kid on the block when it comes to hockey that
Vegas
matters.
loses a lot less.
Le'Veon Bell said he smoked pot before games. The news here is that things that Le'Veon Bell says are still news.
That should be news, though. Like that, I mean, that used to be. If someone admitted that 10 years ago, you know how shocking that would have been.
What was that, Tone?
Randy Moss talked about smoking blunt before games all the time.
Okay, thank you.
Tony, your microphone has to be on when
Well, I
you're
didn't think
broadcasting
another microphone was
professionally.
on at the same time, so I was just trying to make a point.
There's always a mic on, Tony. Dan, you know what the B in Le'Veon Bell stands for?
I do not.
It stands for baked. There is nothing better than hearing a bunch of loudmouth Boston fans all become silent at once. Northwestern women's lacrosse team, thank you for providing me with that experience. You too, Heat. DeAndre Hopkins, Buffalo Bills, collision course. The Raiders can release Jimmy Garoppolo anytime they want without penalty. Dan, you know what that means. It means it's happening.
They can only release him penalty-free this summer.
It means it's happening.
Mike Ryan reported exclusively 10 days ago that Tom Brady is coming back. He reported this based on just his heart of hearts.
Las Vegas Knights or Florida Panthers. Either way, the Stanley Cup has a future date with cocaine. The French just ain't the French without Rafael Nadal. Rafa. Mike, you agree, right?
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Is the French without Nadal?
We still have Gael Monfils.
That's right.
Sliderman.
Yep. He's not going to win it, though. He never does.
No.
Gets to the semis and always loses.
No, it's a wide open tournament now.
Because Nadal's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Joker is.
Funny surface, though.
Well, the red quartz, the red clay at Roland Garros. I mean,
Good coverage. That is correct.
I'm just happy that we have something to bet on during the
it's
show.
a different game, Dan. It is.
Not even sure the clay's actually red.
Of course it's red.
Come on, dude.
It's like
It's red, Dan.
It's red. It's
sunrise.
at most
orange.
burnt orange.
Sunrise orange.
Red orange.
What are you doing?
What are you trying to do?
Is the grass green at Wimbledon? I mean, what are you
Yes.
doing?
Clay is clay.
Yes,
Clay is a clay
the-
color.
The grass is green at Wimbledon. Yes. Just objecting to color. That's it.
Okay.
Is he going to do the thing?
In this week's edition of May, the Baltimore Ravens plan to head to London earlier than they did the last time they went to London. Also, Sean McDermott said he'll be using two different brains as Bills head coach and defensive coordinator. DC. You would, of course, know what that means, right, Dan?
Using two brains.
It would mean a couple of brains would be cutting it up. How about that? I'd settle for one. Izzy Skane, best lacrosse player in the country, and it's not even close. The Skane train. Jimmy Garoppolo waiver. Something smells fishy. There is nothing and nobody that is more lacrosse right now than the Kavanaugh brothers at Notre Dame.
Ah, the Kavanaugh brothers.
Oh, you love them, don't you?
I went to college with their older brother, Matt, was on the Lax team.
I mean, Notre Dame. What's a last name? O'Flaherty. I mean, like, what is a more Notre Dame?
Where's Gonzalez?
What-
Where's Perry?
Just Kavanaugh's.
I mean,
Patrick Kavanaugh's pretty Notre Dame.
Honestly.
Where's
All
Pepito
of it.
Gonzalez?
Patrick Kavanaugh got a scholarship just because his name was Patrick Kavanaugh.
Put it on the poll, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Does Notre Dame give scholarships just because your name is Kavanaugh?
Couple of national champions cutting it up.
If you had the actual waiver in your hands and smelled it, what you would smell is fish.
I mean, it does seem suspicious.
It
that-
stinks.
It's a weird clause to have. Hey, we can cut you penalty free this summer.
Garoppolo
Right now.
Garoppolo had some options.
Come on, guys. Like, they got 5 primetime games. The Raiders. You watched them last year, yes?
I'm also not totally unsure that Tom Brady isn't just petty enough to be like, look, I was a champion, and they said Garoppolo could take my job in New England. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to own the team, and my first act is going to be cutting you and becoming the quarterback.
No, my first motion in the shadows is to say we should sign you, but to a penalty-free deal. So when I come back, I cut you.
Putting in a clause. Hey, hope his agent doesn't notice a clause that Brady's putting in the contract.
It's got his former coaching the team. He's doing the exact same Dolphin plan. I don't understand.
It's happening in front of everybody.
Why am I the crazy one?
Florio's been telling you, Ben Volen. Why is no one paying attention to this? Brady has told you what the executed plan is, and he's doing it.
They're on TV the second most in the sport.
How is Brady doing this quietly? Pay attention, national media.
David Beckham said today that Brady looks bored. He was hanging out with them, and Fred Godelli said he has never mentioned broadcasting to him ever.
Fred Godelli. That's a fine.
I don't care. It's happening.
The report is that it's that he's going to turn down $375 million just to do this to Garoppolo.
You somehow have Devontae Adams already trashing Garoppolo. Yeah. This is
genius.
Come on, guys.
He wants to win the Super Bowl on his home stadium again in Vegas this time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that the only argument against this that anyone is making is he's not going to unretire a second
Can't do
time.
it again. We was on the sand.
It's been done.
But are they for real?
With him. With him.
Are the Raiders for real?
One benchmark at a time, Brad.
Probably the most terrifying and violent headline I've ever read involving golf. Oregon Ducks golfer Greg Schlog was forced to withdraw from the NCAA National Championship Tournament after a tee went through his shoe and impaled his foot.
Impaled is not a great verb. You
Terrible.
don't want to be around an impaling.
Was it like upside down, face up, like a thumbtack?
I think so, yeah.
Home Alone style.
Yeah.
Could you imagine him just being in the trainer's room next to members of the football team?
The hockey team.
I present to the court the whitest injury I've ever heard of in my entire life.
Golf tee impaled in the foot.
Now that I really think about it, the Garoppolo waiver would be wrapped around an actual fish.
Tossing it like the fish market in Seattle.
Vegas Knights.
How can that happen quietly? That can't happen quietly. That's not allowed. People are going to be surprised when it happens, and Stugotz and Mike and Billy have been shouting this from the mountaintops. You don't think Brady's actually retired, do you?
He'll never be retired. Heat Nuggets is what keeps Adam Silver up all night in a cold sweat. Vegas Knights and Florida Panthers is what keeps Brooks Koepka up all night in a cold sweat. Poor Jimmy G. Tom Brady just continues to be a thorn in his side. You know what the T in Tom stands for, Dan? Thorn in Jimmy's side.
Or like a T in his foot.
Panthers and Knights, the rare Stanley Cup, where there will be more bloody noses in the stands than on the ice. Dan, the S in Stanley and the C in Cup stands for snort cocaine. Apologies in advance
Really?
to the entire country of Canada. A tradition unlike any other. The annual J.J. Watt Memorial Day tweet that reads, always grateful, followed by the American flag emoji, followed by hashtag Memorial Day. J.J. Watt's top 5 holidays.
Oh, wow.
This
This
is
is
big.
exciting. This
Yeah.
is very exciting.
Number 5, World Hunger Day. He doesn't like that there's hunger, like people are starving.
Right.
He likes to solve it by
That's
himself.
right, that's
Yes,
right.
Right, exactly.
A good cause to
Thank
get
you.
behind. Anybody would get behind it.
Number 4, Memorial Day. Number 3, National American Eagle Day. Number 2, Flag Day.
Yeah.
And number 1, of course, Independence Day. Florida Marlins worth keeping an eye on. Nick Nurse to the Sixers. Nick, welcome to the world of expectations. Enjoy. The C in Caleb Martin stands for contract extension. Lord Stanley, more like Dear Lord. I'm sorry, Stanley. There's a part of me that really wants to see a parade down the Vegas Strip. Aaron Rodgers, not sure what the hell you are on, but Lord knows I want some of it. Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
I saw Stugotz the other day that Aaron Boone, the Yankee manager, has now been ejected 30 times, and seems to me to be quite the achievement in the technological age where you don't really need managers to make fools of themselves arguing things. But on balls and strikes, that's one of the places managers can keep arguing. But I saw two great stats from the past. One of them involving ejections last week when Bobby Cox turned 62 years old. One of these baseball stats has nothing to do with ejections. It's just that Barry Bonds in 2004, he was on base.
Hold on. There's no way Bobby Cox is 62 years old.
No, he's 80 years old. I'm
all
sorry.
right.
I'm sorry.
No, he's 82.
I'm sorry. My bad. 82 years old. I didn't mean to do that.
It's a secret to aging, by the way, Bobby Cox. Well played.
It's a fine for someone.
It sounds like a fine for me. Barry Bonds in 2004, it's like a riddle. It's funny. He's blackballed soon thereafter. He had 373 at-bats, and he reached base 376 times. It sounds like a mathematical impossibility. I think Tony is still confused.
Dan,
by
how does he get to base more times than at bats?
because walks don't count as at-bats.
Yep.
Huh.
And he just spent that whole season getting on base, and
No one wanted to pitch to him.
yes,
Tony.
they were all terrified of him. But Bobby Cox was ejected 161 times in his career. And I think you got to get ejected one more time
You do.
so that you could say you were ejected from a season's worth of baseball game.
Come back just to get ejected?
Yes. Yes. Put it on the poll, please. Should Bobby Cox come back for one game just to get ejected so he can have a full 162 ejections on his resume? Tony, it seems like you feel bad about not knowing that at bats.
No, because I was half listening, and then when I heard the numbers, they didn't make sense, and I was like, 373, 376, what is Dan trying to do? And then I was thinking about it, and then the walks thing. So how many times did he actually have plate appearances versus walks and hits and home runs and all that stuff? So it was a lot to think about.
It wasn't, though. You just were half listening.
I was just half listening, yeah.
Yes. Which
Jessica has pie over on her computer, so I was looking at the pies, yeah.
What? Me? No.
All right, put it on the poll. Should Dan be disturbed that he can't keep the attention of people he's paying?
To be
I'm
fair,
hungry.
pie.
It's not pie. It's the Pura Vida delivery
You
menu.
totally threw Jessica under the bus because the spotlight was on you.
Thank you, Dan.
That was an
What a
amazing.
pivot. By the way.
I'm just trying to explain to my boss why I was half listening, because half of
Why
my
you
brain
don't know baseball stats?
No,
that,
it's
like,
the two.
everyone else
It's the
knows?
two side of the brain thing, like McDermott. I had half my brain listening to the stat,
Exactly,
and then
yeah.
half my brain was like, "Ooh,
Don't
pie."
sell yourself short. You guys had a segment so boring that Jess couldn't help but look at pies.
You started talking about an 82-year-old right off the bat. I
Right to
decided to
pies.
order lunch.
Well,
I'm
he started
sorry.
with a 62-year-old
60
at
or 80?
first.
I don't know.
Yeah.
82-year-olds are having kids now, so.
Let's talk about that for a second.
That's a bad
I'm
idea.
back.
I'm f***ing again.
Let's talk about selfish Al Pacino.
Oh, totally selfish.
How's he selfish, Dan? He's in love.
Like the De Niro Pacino personal rivalry and professional rivalry
It's gone too far.
goes this
It's gone
far.
too far.
I just think they want their kids to grow up together and have a friend under the same unique circumstances that they were
Hey,
under.
Michael
Of a dead
Mann wrote
father.
a prequel. Michael Mann wrote a Heat prequel. Let's get cracking.
Seems 82-year-olds are interesting to the group. I just picked the wrong one.
Only when they're having sex.
Hooah.
What's the
Raw
age
dog.
difference on this one though? Like that's
It's a lot.
82 to 29.
It's a lot.
Woo!
I'm 29.
Oh,
Oh no.
oh,
Sounds like my
no.
grandfather.
Nope. What?
29?
Al Pacino, at 82 years old, is having a child with his 29-year-old girlfriend. This after Robert De Niro had a child at 79 years old.
Pacino's 83. It's a fun.
Do you know anyone's age?
29.
Can you guys believe that I found another way to talk about Heat?
It's like Al was in Heat.
You think he's selfish, Billy. And I think it's indisputable that if you're having babies at 82 years old and you don't have much of a
83.
83.
Just went over this.
I mean, guys, he's very famous, and to play devil's advocate when you come across a scent of a woman, you can only do so much.
Really going into the wallet today, man.
Bobby Cox, though,
Not having a kid.
in the hen house. Brad,
Yes, sir.
help me understand difficult subject matter here.
Okay.
When we're looking for public targets in this divided political age where we're shooting machine guns at Bud Light cans and everyone is afraid of corporate cancellation, how in God's name have I lived long enough to see Chick-fil-A go from being protested because of religious roots that had a bit of homophobia in it, in a way that was almost our introduction to corporations taking stands on things in a way that was unpopular, to Chick-fil-A now because it is implementing a diverse committee of executives to look for diversity. Now Chick-fil-A has gone from one end of the spectrum to being protested for being too woke by trying to implement diversity.
All I know is, first of all, I'm getting thrown into the take, which kind of makes me nervous because, Dan, you do this, and don't get me wrong, I love this show. I listen to this show. There's certain takes that you have that I agree with, some that I vehemently disagree with. Most importantly, the take that you thought John Mulaney, the special, wasn't that great because you saw him 3 months earlier and it was the exact same material.
Typically, how that whole gig works.
Wait, what?
What did you think? He's going to have a whole new hour on Netflix 3 months after. Okay, never mind. That was the one that I vehemently disagreed with. But I think that we're getting into a time where all companies are going to have to pick a side and just lean in. And I'm okay with this because I want to see the commercials. I want to see the commercials. Bud Light angered a lot of conservatives. Let's have a conservative beer. I want the conservative, like, hard leaning. Have it be called Hold Mine. Hold my beer. That would be great. Is there an election that you think was fraudulent? Hold my beer.
I think we need to go this route. I think instead of corporations sit everything out, take a side, pick it, and see if you can increase your sales by just having, instead of doing formulaic J.J. Watt stallion commercials running around an American flag, pick a side.
Can we go back to the take you also just had, which was that Chick-fil-A was the first corporation to take a political stand on anything? Are you aware of the history of corporations?
What I meant was it's the first corporation that I associate specifically with homophobic policy and waving a religious flag loudly. It's sort of where I remember some of these discussions starting, as Chick-fil-A as being on the
I'd
other
go with
side
the
of
U.S.
this
military
spectrum.
first.
Feels like there was a lot before Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, or just being a human. I think. But the funny part about all this is that they're protesting just a position that's, last I read, existed for several years and people just got around to. They have a director of inclusion. Let's boycott them. And for all the tough talk, keep in mind the left tried to boycott Chick-fil-A. And it failed. You know why? Because Chick-fil-A is delicious.
Yep.
It's
Incredible.
just too delicious.
Nearly
And
impossible to
I
boycott.
defy conservatives
Yeah.
to actually follow through with this boycott. They won't. They won't. You know why? It's been tried out before. And Chick-fil-A is too delicious.
Everyone boycotts Chick-fil-A on Sundays.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah.
stuff
Yeah,
on
that's-
Sundays.
But then on Saturdays, that poly sauce.
I honestly wasn't aware of this Chick-fil-A controversy. I was very offline this weekend at yet another wedding. And to be honest, like, this could be made up. This could not be real, and I wouldn't know because every made-up drama now that happens around people boycotting these corporations, it sounds like an Onion headline. It's just the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard of every single time.
Yeah, and to the point of, like, hold my and actually having conservative grifts that conservatives can back. We have conservative pillows. Like we've gone all the way in already on that.
They're bad pillows, by the way.
Those commercials are amazing.
Terrible
though.
pillows.
I can't. I'm a
pillows
little
are
disappointed
bad.
that you've tried out on my
No,
pillow.
it was pre 2016.
No,
It's before I
Tony
knew,
saw
Mike.
the interaction. He's like, I gotta try
No,
it.
what
Yeah.
happened was pre 2016. A family member was like, "Oh, I got these My Pillows. They're really good." And I used them. I was like, "This thing sucks."
Mike's right about that. It had. You can't say that. What's his name, Lindell? You can't say that he hasn't already done the Brad Williams model. I'm going all in on this. Look out! I've got a bunch of in a armored vehicle made out of pillows. I'm going all in on, like, Tucker Carlson's my guy, Trump's my guy. Please buy my pillows. Anyone who agrees with
And
me.
it's actually the perfect commodity to sell when you're constantly faced with people asking you, "How do you sleep at night?"
Well, My Pillow. Have you had a long day of just tearing down displays at a Target? My Pillow.